Welcome back to Just the Facts, y'all. My name is Jimmy, and as y'all can see, we have a completely different setup. We got a mic here, we got the camera I'm looking at right now. We getting more and more official, man, by the day. But that's not why we're here, man. We're here to, talk football, talk Texas football right now. Um, Today, as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, we're going to talk about Texas versus Alabama preview and prediction. Obviously, this is one of the, this is the biggest game of the week, one of the biggest games of the year, one of the biggest non-conference games I can recall, just from the standpoint of two really highly regarded programs. You know what I mean? So Alabama and Texas, we met in the national championship about 12 years ago. We all know what happened there. Don't really want to talk about it too much. It's, it started the downfall of the program of Texas football as we know it. And we never recovered since Colt McCoy's shoulder got hit. Literally since that moment, all the elite status of our program has just went down the drain. And we're just trying to figure out a way to get back to that point. You know what I mean? Before we start, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, man. It's going to really help me out with this channel. But without further ado, let's get into it. First of all, let's kind of start off with what we know and what we've seen already from the Texas side. Quinn Ewers, starting quarterback. He was okay in his debut against UL Monroe. He threw the interception, of course. I didn't like that. He had Worthy earlier in the play, but threw it a little bit too late and behind him. Ended up in a turnover. But other than that, he looked pretty solid. There were moments in there where he looked kind of jittery and looked like kind of nervous, I guess. But that's perfectly fine. It's his first game. He's basically a freshman, hasn't played since 2019. So it's understandable how he played, just trying to shake off the rest a little bit. He has all the talent in the world. So I'm not concerned with that. I'm just concerned with him putting it together on the field within the Steve Sarkisian offensive system, right? That's the main thing. We looked pretty good as a whole offensively. Jatavian Sanders, man, whoo, that guy could be a really big key for our team because he's looking like already like a security blanket kind of for Quinn Ewers. Obviously, we have Xavier Worthy, who's the best receiver on the team, period. But Jatavian Sanders could be that security blanket for a guy like Quinn Ewers, who is young and kind of inexperienced and needs that extra support. And Jatavian Sanders can be a huge key. He had a great game, especially with Jaleel Billingsley being out. I expect Sanders to really put up some productive numbers this season. Our two main guys are going to be Bijan and X. We all know that. The defense, I think, is much improved. One thing I really liked what we did against UL Monroe was putting DeMarvion Overshown more on the edge instead of him being, more playing that linebacker role. He's playing more of like an edge role. So he's coming off, getting off the blocks, trying to get to the quarterback, man. He was all over the place in that game. He was scary in that game, and that's exactly where I want him to be. That's exactly where I want DeMarvion Overshown to be, on the edge, wreaking havoc, because who's going to keep up with him? He has a safety background, so he still has that speed to get around the edge, to beat linemen, beat tight ends. Barrett Sorrell had a very good game himself too. So the D-line is something that I always look at with us, and it should always be disruptive. It should always be dominant. Recruiting these big boys year in and year out. In the back end is where we really struggle over the years. But we have Deshaun Jameson. Jalen Gilbo was a really big surprise. He really had a good game. And then we have our safeties, Jaron Thompson and them. So I'm liking where the defense is headed. I think a big key why our defense was non-existent pretty much the last 3 years or so is because we've had three different defensive coordinators. And I would have liked to kept Chris Ash back in 2020. He was really developing something there, I think, really. And we let him go because, we had to let Tom Herman go. But I really wish we had kept Chris Ash to keep that continuity, keep that consistency going. And I think that's what's really had failed us over the past couple of years, is not having that consistency on defense, having different coordinators, different systems, different terminology, I'm guessing, as well. So as long as we, come back with we came back with Kwiatkowski, as long as we keep on building on what we've been doing, I expect our defense to be even better. From now to the end of this season, we should be pretty good defensively. On the Alabama side, they have maybe the best quarterback in the country in Bryce Young, obviously the Heisman guy from last year. Probably the best overall player in the country this year, and Will Anderson on the defensive side. Those two guys can win you the game. You know what I mean? We've seen games where Bryce Young has won the game for Alabama. We've seen games where Will Anderson has won the game for Alabama. And more often than not, both of those guys are going to be on. That's the scary part. Starting off offensively, Bryce Young is going to take his shots deep. Very accurate quarterback. Can move around, can scramble a bit. Has really good pocket presence. They have good, stable running backs this year. And the running back room, I feel like, is a little bit different. If any Alabama fans are watching this, correct me if I'm wrong. But, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the main featured guy. But they're going to have 3-4 running backs, which they always do. But the difference, I think, is they have more of like a speed factor to them, more than a power factor to them. And then, of course, the wide receiver room. I mentioned this in my Alabama preview. I want to see who's going to step up for them at receiver, because it's no doubt all of these guys are super talented, but I want to see who's going to be that lead guy. Correct me if I'm wrong again, but I don't think they have a Jerry Jeudy, a Devontae Smith, a Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, what's his name, John Mechie, Jameson Williams. I don't think they have a guy that's on those type of guys' level. I don't think so. I'll believe when I see it. Jermaine Burton's really good. Holden or Bolton, whatever his name is, he's pretty good too. But I don't think they're that as scary as they have been in the past in terms of the wide receivers. Now, I'm not doubting their ability, really. I just had a question about it. Who's going to step up and be that guy? Defensively, I think they have the best linebacking core in the country. Will Anderson, Henry Toto, and Dallas Turner. So that's the best linebacking core in the country as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully they don't give Quinn Ewers PTSD. In his second game, they leave that imprint on him that just messes him up for the rest of his career. The front seven is going to be very dominant as well, I think. And against our offensive line, I'm not sure how we're going to hold up. Their secondary is really good too. Let's talk about kind of like the things I'm watching in this game come Saturday. On the Texas side, this is huge. The physicality in the trenches. Let me tell y'all this. This game will be determined on this thing alone. The physicality in the trenches. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about our defense. I don't care about the special teams. I don't care about anything else. Our physicality within the trenches will be tested like no other Saturday, right? And I want to see if we're up to the test, because the last time we were really good, that's when we were always the most physical team. We were always the most dominant team in the trenches. We were always the most, grittiest team in the trenches. That was 2018. And even some parts of 2019. But I'm really talking about 2018. We won 10 games that year. We were really good because we were dominating in the trenches. The most physical team on the field was Texas. Every week. Aside from the Maryland game. And the Oklahoma State game. But every other week, Texas was the most dominant team in the trenches. Our offensive line, dominant, moving guys around. And that was kind of emblematic of our QB, Sam Ehlinger. He's a quarterback. He's running. He's not going to slide. He's going to put his shoulder down. He's going to get extra yardage. Defensively, we're coming after the quarterback. We're getting pressure. We probably weren't getting too many sacks, but we're getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. The physicality in the trenches is what I'm going to be looking at, because it'll be tested like no other against Alabama. Last year against Arkansas, why did we get blown out in that game? The trenches. Can't stop the run. We can't open up holes for Bijan on the other end. We can't get pressure on KJ Jefferson. And I said in that game, if we get pressure on KJ Jefferson, I will feel really good, because I'm not trusting in him to be thrown under pressure. But we didn't make it harder for him. We couldn't get our ground game going to where Hudson Card could never settle in. So it's all about the trenches. It opens up everything else for the game. This year, in terms of the trenches, defensively, we have to get pressure on Bryce Young. Alabama gave up. They were bottom 10 in sacks allowed last year. The offensive line was not up to standard for Alabama. Are they much improved? We'll see. But we got to try and see if we can get pressure on this guy, because we saw what Georgia did to him. And we're not Georgia defensively, but we have to come up with something to get pressure on this guy. Overshown, I need a big game. Baron Sorrell, I need a big game. Ovi, big game. Like guys like that, I need them. I need them to be coming, man. On the other side, can we get Bijan some carries? Can we get Roschon some carries? Can we get him some holes to open up for him? Some daylight. We know Will Anderson's coming. I want to see how we're gonna, kind of do the chess match. How Steve and Saban are gonna do their chess match. But I'm sure Sark will come up with something that will free up Bijan, screens, swing passes maybe, to free up Xavier Worthy, crossing routes, maybe bubble screens. Remember the bubble screen against OU, went to the house first play. That's more than not going to work against Bama, but we're going to see how we can get our guys open. Quick slant plays, and then hopefully later on slant and goes, and, deceptive routes like that. Getting the ball out quick for Quinn, too, because Will Anderson's coming. The front four is coming. So we have to get the ball out quick for Quinn, make it easier for him, help him get in the rhythm, especially early on, so he can settle in and so he can be able to see the field. Alabama can pin their ears back as the game goes on, and we can create some damage. How confident am I in that? Not very confident. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think our offensive line is ready to handle this front four, front seven of Alabama. We're starting a couple freshmen on the O-line, and they're not bad, but they're freshmen. Special teams. If there's one advantage that Texas has, that's in the special teams department. Because Alabama over the years hasn't had the greatest of kickers or greatest luck with kickers. Missing field goals. Guys shanking punts, getting punts blocked. Alabama, they're low-key kind of susceptible. And if they're not blocking right, Deshaun Jameson, Keelan Robinson, they will come and block it. So I want to see if we can get an upper edge in the special teams department at least, because special teams can really change the game for you. Seen the LSU Florida State game a couple of days ago, right? Like that's just the greatest example. I don't have to explain anything. Last year, Texas was screwed. Another reason was because their special teams wasn't good. Our special teams was bad. Field position poor. Both sides. So if we can get a return from Xavier Worthy that can help give us good field position at midfield or something, or we can get Deshaun Jameson on a kickoff or a block punt, block field goal to get momentum, because special teams creates the biggest momentum plays in football. The biggest momentum plays in football comes from special teams because you're flipping the field one way or another. So, all in all with this game, how confident I feel, I'll give y'all a 1 to 10. I'm not feeling confident. I'll feel like a 3 to a 4 in terms of beating Bama. Score prediction here in a minute, but I want to see what Quinn does, man. I really want to see what he does against, because I have a feeling he's going to pop off for some reason. He's going to pop off and we're going to be in a shootout. But on the other hand, I can be like, he can throw 2-3 interceptions and it looks kind of ugly. Does that break him? Who knows? I think if going back to 2019, when we played LSU, at the time, that was a top 10 matchup. Texas had very high expectations. Texas not ranked right now, but that game was back and forth for the most part. They were up in control kind of, but we were right there like nipping at their heels pretty much the entire course of the game. And it came down to the 3rd and 17 when if we were to stop them, we get the ball back, and I think we're scoring because we didn't miss out on a scoring drive in the second half of that game, right? We scored on every possession in the second half. If we have a game that's like that, if we lose a game kind of like that, to where it's like they're in control, but we're nipping at the heels, and we come to an opportunity to where we can get a stop in the fourth quarter and get the ball back to tie the game, I'm completely happy with that, whether we end up losing that game. The point I'm trying to make here is if we lose this game by 10, maybe even 13, 7 points, 10, 9 points, that's a win in my opinion. Yeah, there's no more victories, but when you have a team you're rebuilding, when you have a team that's on the come up and you're playing the best team in football, you got to be realistic with yourself. You got to take the learning lessons. You have to take the moral victory and run with it to get even better. If you lose somewhere in that type of range, I will be completely happy, and all the college football fans better respect Texas at that point. And I would think we'd have a really good season at that point. But if we come out and it's bad, I'm talking like they come out and they did what they did to like Ole Miss or something, and it's like 28-0 first quarter, I'd be like, damn, there's nothing we can do. But I kind of think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I don't think it'll be close enough for us to have a real chance to win the game, but I don't think it'll be a blowout to where it's like, damn, like what happened, I think Alabama wins this game, of course. The score I'm going to give y'all is Alabama 38, Texas 20. Just because I'm not confident with our offense right now against this defense, but I do have some level of confidence when it comes to our defense against their offense for whatever reason. Yeah, the 38 points might not suggest that, but I'm just thinking, I'm like, damn, I have a feeling we're going to hang in there. It's going to be some type of a game at halftime. It's going to be like 24-14 at halftime or something. And they kind of pull away towards the end. They're going to pull away. It's going to be a game they pull away. Rocking crowd in Austin, Texas. Game day is going to be there. Fox Noon is going to be there. I think we're going to be in the game for a minute. We're going to be in the game for a minute because we start off games really well under Sark. Oklahoma game. 2 touchdowns in the first minute. 28 points in the first quarter. 35 points midway through the second. We're up in the Oklahoma State game. We're up in the Baylor game. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. This is an interesting game. I'm glad we're able to do a home and home. I'm glad to know we'll lose both games because we're not winning at Bama next year. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it. I still want another crack at Arkansas, by the way. I'm not happy, but let me know about score predictions. Let me know who y'all think that. Let me know what y'all think the X factors are in terms of the game. If it even is going to be close enough for X factors to be a factor. Let me know who y'all think is going to have the biggest performance of the game, the biggest surprises, you name it. But this is Jimmy from Just the Facts, and I'm signing out. Peace.